Eamon O'Carroll, you've had a chance to review and reflect the Whitehaven performance at the weekend gone. What effort areas pleased you the most?
Just our movements off the ball, our desperation. I think the scoreline looked good for us, and it was, but Whitehaven certainly challenged us and threw a lot at us. Some of the things that they did, you probably can't prep for. A lot of unstructure, kicking the ball behind on play 3, and they've got a lot of effort and strike in their backfield, and they can punish you if you're not on. So just those are the things that we reinforced in video. Just our effort to be in the picture, and I think we had 20 scraps for the game, which is the highest of our season. And when we're doing that, generally we're on.
You labelled it must win. The players certainly responded to that message. How pleased were you with that?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I was real pleased for them as well. More so than anything, I think. It was a tough week. We didn't get too down, but the pitches didn't lie. Just probably over the last 2 games in Widnes and Barrow. So I was confident that we were going to get a response. I think the lads that came in who'd been missing, added a huge boost to us, and do all those things that I just mentioned. Like, naturally, you don't have to reinforce that with them; they just do it. So, and I think that rubs off on everyone else. So we made sure that we recognised that in our video, that the lads that have been out, have been working extremely hard, came in and added value.
You mentioned having to get your hands on the players and change your attitude towards them in the days leading up to that game. Does that stay the same for this week, or have you changed again?
No, I don't think it was changing. I was desperate to get training. I think we all felt, and that's what I meant by getting my hands on it. But my attitude doesn't ever change. I'm just honest with the group. We're honest with each other, and like I said, the pictures didn't lie, so everything that I said was backed up with vision. And that's the way that I'll always approach it with the group. I think if you're honest, then everyone has clarity and they know what they need to do. So that's the way we'll approach every game, regardless now if we win or we lose. We always do that. Some of our really good wins during the season, we've had video sessions where they've probably not been all happy and clappy, because we want to make sure that we continue to get better, and I think that's really important. Just as we won't get too carried away with that result, we know there was still things in that game that we needed to do better. But that's about us refocusing now and making sure we learn those lessons and continue to get better during the next 7 games.
And just finally on that Whitehaven game, how important was it for the fans to see a reaction?
I think it's really important, but one reaction, we need to do that continually throughout the year now. Like, I'm not forgetting about what's happened, and the players aren't. We're reinforcing that with them daily to hold on to it. There's still probably a bit of taste in my mouth with the way we conducted ourselves and the way we played and hurt ourselves over the last couple of games. So we don't forget about it too much. We don't let it to be a hangover, but I think it's really important that we don't forget about it.
You mentioned prior to that Whitehaven game about creating something special with 8 games to go. Certainly speaking to the players after the game, it feels like you've certainly got that buy-in and focus. Something's been created now.
I hope so, and I do believe that from the group. I see how the training at the minute. I think the way we trained going into the Whitehaven game, they certainly took that onto the field. So it was a good lesson for us to make sure that we're driving the intensity of our training sessions, and you can visibly see that going up when you're watching it. I think again, individuals that we've brought back in, are certainly driving that as well. So it's just important that we continue to do that. I think what we do during the week is obviously really important to how we perform on a Sunday.
I was lucky enough to watch the side train on Wednesday evening. Certainly an interesting experience, because until you actually watch, a Bradford Bulls training session, you probably don't realise just how much effort goes into those sessions from the players.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll be the same with every club. We've got our markers that we want to hit, and certain things we want to get out of our training sessions, and I felt like we did that at weekend. The beauty of that is we didn't absolutely nail it. There's still certain things in there where if we do that at weekend, we'll get exposed. So that's the beauty of the training. I expect the application and the intensity to be perfect, but the session won't always be, and that's good to see that as a positive, because we can fix that tonight.
How important do you feel that the weight has been lifted off Jordan's shoulders, so to speak, with the arrival of Jordan Salmon 2 games in?
Yeah, it's a big one. I think we mentioned this in the week. It's important now that all the things you just mentioned there about our effort off the ball, and our discipline is really important. Now, if we nail that every week, we can start to evolve some things in our attack, and Jazz has certainly added to us, especially in terms of kicking game. We didn't kick the ball too much at weekend, but just gives us that other option now and frees Jordan up a little bit. But I don't think Jordan's under pressure, and we've tried to say that to him throughout the year. Obviously, there is an element of pressure when you're the only half, but I want him to play freely. I think when he does that, and probably a little bit calmer, he plays his best, and I think he's done a great job for us this year, and he'll only get better. I still think the best is yet to come from Jordan.
And just on Jared Salmon, he certainly looks in great shape for a 37-year-old. Clearly a lot of discipline, dedication to training and his diet.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a good pro, and the thing is he takes people with him as well. And we've started to get a few like that now in the group, which is really good.
Do you feel that the discipline and dedication that Jared's shown can rub off on the culture of some of the other players?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think we had it anyway. We've got a really good group that are always looking to do better and saying to me, Freddie, we need to be doing more. We need to be doing more. And I get it. I'm desperate to do more as well. But we've also got to take into account the amount of injuries that we've had this year, and we've got to make sure the time on the field is really efficient and we get out of it what we need. So, but yeah, I'd rather the players be knocking on my door saying, come on, I want to do a little bit more, than saying we're doing too much.
Franklin Pelly was penalised and sent to the sin bin. The RFL have posted on the website no case to answer. Do you think that was a case of his reputation going before him in the match officials' eyes?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, which is disappointing. I've got a phone call today with the match officials because I didn't want to say anything before anything came out, whether he was going to get a ban or not. But yeah, I do feel like sometimes he's hard done by. But listen, I've had a chat with Franklin. There's certainly things he can be doing better. We don't want to be putting him in that situation again. But yeah, it's a frustrating one for me, and hopefully I'll get an answer as to why today, because on the comms, referee's saying it's very late, and it wasn't, and then he doesn't even get a ban. But again, we're losing for 10 minutes, which could have hurt us.
Just on the discipline of the side of late, if I've got my stats right, I believe it's just one set restart conceded in the last 3 games. That's obviously a strong area and a pleasing statistic.
Yeah, it's an area that we value, the ruck, with and without the ball, and we want to be cleaning that. So the boys work extremely hard technically to make sure that we're cleaning that area and that we can dominate in that area, and we don't want to be giving 6 agains away. But when we have though, I think certainly in the last game, I think our response to anything that went against us was much better, and that was a big thing we got out of the Barrow game, making sure we respond positively to things when they go against us, and I thought we did that because we didn't get our own way against Whitehaven.
What's the team news looking like this week? I know last week you had to make 5 changes. Obviously, it's looking like there's going to be a lot less this weekend. How's John Davis, Jordan Baldwinson, Dan Smith? I think those are the 3 that are probably closest to potentially returning.
Yeah, Smiggy did his first training session with us on Wednesday. Looked really good, so really happy for him. He'll be back in contention once he gets through this week. Baldy's a couple of weeks off, but working extremely hard to get himself back. And then JD will be in the squad this week. He's up for selection, but hopefully we won't be making too many changes. I want to get some consistency now in terms of team selection, so probably at a point for the first time where I can probably rest someone if I need to, and bring in some quality.
Has there been a further update on Kieran Gill?
No, he's looking a lot better. He's looking a lot better, which is good, and it's killing him not being in the team at the minute. But I just said to him, you need to use that as fuel. Make sure that you're doing everything possible to come back better than what you left us. So he might be 4 to 5 weeks off, but I'm hopeful that it could be a bit sooner with how he's looking.
And what's the message to the squad, the side this week, Eamon? Is it a case of build on the momentum from that Whitehaven game?
Yeah, it is, and don't forget how we felt a fortnight ago. I think that's the big one. We felt like that because of us, and that's not being disrespectful to Barrow or Widnes. We got a lot wrong in them games, and just making sure my message is clear with them. If we do this, we'll get a result. If we go back to those ways, then we'll get hurt, and it'll be us that does it to ourselves. So we're looking forward to seeing how they respond now. I'm sure they'll back it up.
And it's certainly a big game with a lot riding on it, with Featherstone Rovers coming here to Battercard on Sunday. Some might class it as a 4-point game in terms of Bradford's ability to secure a top 4 finish.
Yeah, possibly, and we're focusing on it game by game now, regardless of who we're playing, what opposition, where we're playing. There's a bigger picture for us, and we know inside our 4 walls what that is, and if we want to achieve what we want to achieve next year, it doesn't matter who we're playing. We know the intensity of the game is going to go up. I know that there's a fierce rivalry between the 2 clubs, but we'll put that to one side. There's a bigger picture for us.
Obviously, building momentum after a disappointing home defeat to Doncaster, Featherstone do appear to have turned things round in the last couple of fixtures. A very good win against Wiggins.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they've probably been in a similar position to us in terms of being able to select the same side, so I totally understand what that does to them, why they probably had a little bit of inconsistency every now and again, because we've done the same, but they're probably finding their rhythm now in terms of their performance and got a threat throughout, so we're going to have to be very good.
How important is that forward battle on Sunday? Is it a case of whoever wins that will go on and get 2 points?
I think there'll be a bit more to it than that, but it's certainly going to play a big factor. I like what some of their middles are about, Gadwin and lads like Addy, when he plays there, if he's not playing half, I will move the ball for him. So yeah, the threat throughout, we're going to have to be very good, and that's a big challenge that I'm going to be putting on them.
And just on that forward battle, you look at your Franklin Pellizzeri, Bidoros, you look at Gadwin Springer, Lockwood, Brad Day, Bussey, Jimmy Beckett. It's certainly going to be a big physical encounter.
Yeah, it will. I think they're certainly putting themselves about at the minute. I like how I'll be defending, they go after teams, so a huge challenge for us.
And just when you think back to that victory here against York, Eamon, and you said you were excited about potentially putting a winning run together, and then obviously it felt like a footstep forward, 2 step backs. Is there any pressure on you to double up this weekend?
There's pressure for us not just to double up. I think that's one thing I've learned. We've strung probably 5 games, 6 games together, and then we've not performed to our standard. If we perform at our standard and a team gets us, then we can look at that and I can probably sleep a little bit easier at night. But it's the fact of our inconsistency that is frustrating. So I'm confident if we're on, we'll give ourselves the best opportunity.
Earlier on this week, Kevin McAllister signed a 2-year contract extension. Clearly, Kevin's posted on social media, he's absolutely delighted to repay the Bradford Bulls family. Talk us a little bit about getting that deal done.
Look, easy in some respects. There's no doubt we wanted to keep Kevin. After speaking to him, it was clear he wanted to stay here as well. So, he's got a lot of things to consider in terms of his family, etc. And we wanted to make sure that he was comfortable with that and had complete clarity, and they could be settled, and they really are over here. He's a wonderful man. I love Kev. I actually referenced him when we were going through that tough period because I thought he stood out. Not just on the field, but what he was doing off it, how he was preparing. He's meticulous in what he does, and I think people need to get on board with him, and a lot of the lads do as well. So it was no fluke that Kev was performing when we were probably underperforming as a group with what he does. So he loves playing here, and he's playing really well at the minute too, so I'm really happy to extend him for 2 years.
Do you feel he's playing Kevin, when I interviewed him on Wednesday evening, he feels he's playing his best rugby league of his career. Does that translate and resonate with you?
A little bit. Obviously, I've not worked with Kevin until this year, so I obviously watched him a lot last year. I think Kev, by his own admission, would say he probably had a little element of inconsistency sometimes. I think when he just goes hard in games, everything else comes. He's got a great rounded game in what he does, and he's playing in the back row for us at the minute. He might move back into the middle, I'm not sure, but I'm just confident in him that he'll do his best. And lads listen to him. He doesn't say a lot, but when he does, lads listen to him as well. So there's a great influence on the group.
And just finally, Eamon, what's the contract talks looking like for 2025? Clearly, there's going to be more external recruits and hopefully more internal retentions.
Yeah, hopefully more internal. That's what we want. We want to keep the group together. I think that's one of our strengths. So yeah, it's ongoing. It's getting exciting now. We're getting some business done, which is great. I mentioned this before. Fully supported by the board. We've got a clear vision. We're all aligned, and we know what we need to do to go and do it. So yeah, there'll be some good additions and hopefully some retentions as well.